Bet.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and hope you're shoveling out of the remnants of the storm, and hopefully the sun will be out and we'll start melting the snow, and spring will be here and we'll have plenty of moisture. So Bob Prentice has been doing some training, with us, as you know, and recently he did the Building Healthy Relationships presentation for some of the Cohesion members, and I just thought that it would be good to have him present it to the First Chiropractic Centers staff, knowing that your thematic goal is enhancing lives through enhanced experiences, and that includes obviously the patient. And so what Bob has to present today has some really good information. It's very relevant to the roles that you play in what you do for First Chiropractic Centers. Now, the top part of, for those of you that can see the screen, the top part of what you're reading is from a recent patient retention and satisfaction survey. And basically, patients want a personal connection with their healthcare providers. And they want to have, if that happens, then they'll have a long-term relationship with you. And the survey also pointed out that when patients feel like a number to the physician's practice and not a person, that there's a good chance they might leave and go to another provider. Then with that, obviously the impact on the practice when that happens is fewer patients and less, financial stability. So with what we do with the patients, we know it's important that we always work on enhancing their experience. So with that, I'm going to let you take over, Bob, and thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Jeff, for your efforts pulling this series together for everybody today, and thank you, everybody on the program. We just really appreciate and value your time, and my goal is to make this as interactive as possible, utilizing technology today. But even beyond that, I want this to be an opportunity that we can share and encourage and learn. I have great expectations for our time together and the investment of energy. So, and it's a working lunch, so feel free to eat your sandwich at the same time. As I have gained your permission here today for a little interaction, I truly appreciate and value that. And so let's right off the bat do that. Do me a favor, everybody. If you would just touch your nose, just touch your nose for me. Just everybody do that. Jeff, I appreciate it. I got you on camera there. I mean, look at your neighbor. Make sure everybody touch their nose today. Just look, make sure. And really, it's not just your nose I really want to reach out and virtually touch here today. I'm really after your hearts and your minds as I share my heart and my mind with you today in this very, very personal area of building healthy relationships. So once again, Jeff, thank you, and thank you, everybody, on the webcast here today. Building healthy relationships probably comes from a lot of, I guess you might say, failures over the years, learning from my mistakes, and on my quest, on my life journey, always wanting to understand this human behavior that we have in engaging with other human beings. And it probably came as a result of my experience as a young boy in school, kind of picked on a lot by people. They call it bullying today. I was bullied quite a bit. And so I would find a way around that by actually being kind of humorous and funny and befriending them. And ultimately, good things started happening. And I continued on my study of understanding human behavior. And I discovered basically we human beings respond to others in three basic ways. In just everyday dealings with other human beings, where some people you might refer to as passive individuals. They're shy, maybe held back in different ways. They don't reach out necessarily. They basically have an attitude of, I'm going to let you win, and as a result of you winning, I'll just lose. Some people refer to a passive form of behavior as kind of the doormat behavior, letting other people walk or step on them. Not a healthy form of behavior whatsoever. Other individuals, they're the aggressive types. They're the, you know, their attitude, you know, it's going to be my way or the highway, where, you know, and I really don't care about what you're experiencing or what you're feeling. I'm going to win, you're going to lose, and frankly, I don't care that you're losing. And we know people with anger issues and aggressive forms of behavior, not healthy whatsoever. The type of behavior that I aspire for in my daily dealings with other human beings is what I like to refer to as an assertive form of behavior. Assertive behavior has that attitude of, I'm going to do everything in my power so that you win. So like in this case, Jeff, I want you to win. I want the doctors, I want the staff to win. So as a result of you all winning, remember, I have that same basic right also. We have that win-win situation. There's a whole list of assertive rights here that we're not going to really take the time to read today. I'm going to basically give this to you as an assignment. Hopefully you'll have a hard copy of it. If you don't, we'll make sure that you receive one. But, you know, for example, we as human beings, we have the right to say no and not feel guilty. That's a healthy right. We just got to remember that everybody we deal with has that same basic right. My encouragement for you on the webcast here today is to just take each of these basic rights and apply one a day. Just start processing it into your life, assimilating it into your life on a daily basis, and remembering that you're trying to create win-win relationships with other people. There are people that are going to either be passive or aggressive in their behaviors most often. And so we need to, as leaders and caregivers, we certainly need to apply the principles of these assertive rights. And I remember years ago, just in everyday application, I remember that my wife and I had purchased a brand new car, and the very first trip my wife took it to the grocery store, and somehow a shopping cart in the parking lot got slammed into the rear of the car. And of course I was frustrated, a little bit angry when I heard about this. But I recognized I couldn't do nothing, and I really couldn't go in stomping and screaming. I needed to go in a very assertive manner and see if I could create a win-win situation here. And as I approached them, they said, no, this is your problem. You know, at the customer service counter, this is your problem, Bob, that's not ours. And so just kind of go away. And I went back to my office and I shared this with the staff, and they said, no, you know, it's your problem, Bob. They're wrong, it's your problem. And I said, boy, it just doesn't seem right yet. Something's still quirky about this. And so I then went back to the store and I asked for a higher level of management. And I sat down in the manager's office, and I kind of reminded them that, you know, on an average, we spend, you know, $100 a week here at the grocery store. And over a month, that's about $400. And over a year, that's about $4,800. And over 10 years, that's adds up to a lot of money. And I said, I was out in my wife, our brand new car, and the next thing I know, this manager's pulling out of his desk drawer a form that says shopping cart accident form. And I go, wow, they have a form for this. And I was told all the way up the chain there was, you know, my challenge. But so I was so glad I was assertive in my connections and my engagements, because I wanted them to win. I wanted to go out and say positive things and not run around being a negative nanny here in any way whatsoever. And so assertive behavior wins out time after time. And so in building human relations with others, it's vital that we have a solid foundation of that. And years ago, I share with people that probably one of the most powerful things I've discovered in the area of dealing with humans and working with human beings is something it was encouraged to me years ago, And a good friend came up to me and said, Bob, share this with others. And apply this in your life. And I did. And it was this principle. It's treat every person that you meet as if their heart is breaking, because chances are it probably is. And I process that a lot in my life as I connect with others. I remind myself that their heart may be breaking in one way or another. And I want to keep that in the back of my mind in my communications, in my relationship building with everybody I have the privilege to connect with on this planet. And I've been truly blessed with that. And I want healthy relationships. I crave for that. And I consumed a lot of books, reading, everything I could get my hands on in my life's passion here of building healthy relationships, and picked up a number of what I guess you might say are human relations principles. And these principles, I've just boiled down a handful of them here because there's so many, but some of my favorites that I like to remind us of, just, basic human relations principles that we sometimes just forget in life we need to apply. And for example, this first one, that we need to just go out in life and maintain a friendly, accessible, I like that word, accessible demeanor. And it's so important to smile. And let's just, for an example, what would be some good opportunities that we might have in just smiling with people? Like, for example, the phone. Where else could we seize that opportunity to smile? Anybody? Anybody on the call today? Where else can we smile with people? I mean, the moment you have eye contact with somebody, a smile should just automatically come to our face, whether it be when we're walking someone down the hall, to a room. Anybody? Any other thoughts?
As soon as they walk in the door.
As soon as they walk in the front door, we should be exhibiting a friendly, accessible demeanor, and the best way to do that is through our smile. It should be what they first engage with is our facial features and how we're carrying ourselves in our conversations. And of course, we want to be an encourager to them as we are building a relationship with people. I like to be an encourager of others. If I'm struggling in my own attitudes about something, I'll pick up the phone and I'll call somebody and share a positive quote or a little positive picture I found or something. I'm going to find some way to get out of myself and encourage someone else. And time and time again, it helps me in building a healthy relationship. So, encouraging patients, for an example, to work on their health strategy. I like to show people my health action plan. I have a written health action plan all typed up and with accountabilities in it, my goals, my health goals. And so I have found by simply sharing with others my written health action plan, they've told me time and again, well, that's encouraged me. So, if you're encouraging someone to get healthy, if we have an example of that ourselves, it's a healthy thing for others. They can own it that much more effectively. You might notice I love to talk, and that gets me in trouble. And so in building relationships with others, I've had to learn to just remind myself, Bob, shut up and just listen. I literally have to tune in my dial and just focus on the person I'm connecting or engaging with. I have created a little game that I with myself. I pretend like I'm a dehydrated sponge in the bottom of the kitchen sink, all dried up and everything. And each little drip of the water out of that faucet is the word that they're speaking to me, and I'm absorbing each word that my connection is sharing with me. And as I absorb that into my being, it really forces me to listen and really hear what they're sharing with me. And beyond that, it's important because I have a philosophy about listening that I like to play it back to people. I want to double check. I want to confirm. I want to make sure that I heard them correctly, number one. But also I want to let the person that I'm building that relationship know that I'm connecting with them by playing it back, what they just told me. And so it confirms with them that I'm really tuned in and listening. Does anybody on the conference today have any other ideas what they do to tune in and listen to the patient as they come into the practice? Anybody? Anything you're doing currently? That's working for you? We like to talk. We're humans. We love to share. We like to speak. But really tuning in and listening, maybe this will help. Because at some point in the conversation, we're going to start asking questions. It's important that we be sincere and genuine and have this, what I like to refer to as a genuine and a natural, a sincere curiosity. And so before I really get going asking questions with somebody, I like to gain their permission. I like to say, here's the phrase I generally use, may I have your permission to ask you a few questions? Some of them are going to be kind of sensitive and personal and private and professional. And so I need your permission today. And my goal in asking that is twofold. One, I want to get a positive response. But secondly, I learned years ago that if I simply get permission from people, if I just gain permission and it shows respect, and as I give them my respect, often what I get back in buckets full is that respect back. And so two great benefits and reasons why I encourage people to always make sure you gained permission by asking, may I have your permission to ask you a few questions? And that sets a tone, number one. It lays a foundation. And oh my goodness, it is probably one of the smartest, wisest things I can do in building a relationship with somebody is just pausing and asking that question. And then having that curiosity and really when it comes to questions, and we can dig into this much more if you choose, I like to ask person-centered questions. These are about them as a human being. What are their hobbies? Where do they receive joy? What they do for fun? How do they get into the line of work that they're doing? Or what brings it? What have you read recently that you've got a lot of benefit from? Just some person-centered type questions. And then I'll ask a problem-centered type questions or a pain type of a question. Where are their pain points at? Where are they hurting the most? And I found that as I ask more person-centered questions before I get to the pain point type questions, that there's a trust that's being established, a relationship that's being established. And so I'll even kind of go back and forth between the person-centered questions and then balance that with some of the problem-centered type questions. But where I've had the most success over the years is when I ask what I refer to as the ultimate benefit type questions. These are, ultimately, if we were to solve this challenge, if this were to go away, ultimately, what would this mean to you? What do you see yourself doing differently? What is going to happen to you? So I'm going to ask questions, some probing types of questions that's going to take me to a deeper level. But I can only do that if I've established trust through having a healthy demeanor and smiling and being encouraging to them and letting them know that I'm I have just some natural curiosities. Now, let me just tell you, we get busy, we forget. And here's what I have done. I have been known to get into a conversation and go, oh my gosh, I didn't ask permission. Here's what you do. You simply respond with, goodness, I just goofed up. I needed your permission today. I want your permission. And so if I may have your permission, some of these questions are going to get kind of tough. And I got to know that we're moving in the same direction. We're on the same page. And so may I have your permission to ask some questions? And I tell you, folks, this step right here, this little bit of a process in my goals to build healthy relationships is a trigger point. It is crucial. And if you get anything out of our conversation today, I really, truly believe that's the nugget that you glean. It shows interest in them. You get them talking about them. You know, I've been in so many offices where a couple of the office staff get talking back and forth about their weekend or what they just did or their hobbies. But what happens, and all of a sudden then the doctor will come in and start doing their work. And all of a sudden there's that time, that precious time where it could have shown some interest in them. Hey, what have been some of your most recent hobbies? Or have you seen this play? Or did you get a chance to see this movie? Or, what kind of music do you enjoy listening to? You haven't really taken the time, the moments, the precious moments that we have to show that genuine interest in them as a patient, as a human being. So I daily, whether it's interactions with my spouse, my children, my grandchildren, business clients, friendships, folks at church, daily I'm showing some ways to be an encourager. I practice this. I consciously go out. The week before I was thinking at church that I've been meaning to share a thought that I had with the pastor at church. And so I thought about it one week, and the next Sunday, which was here this last Sunday, I said to myself, I'm going to go connect and engage with the pastor. And I just let him know that I really appreciated that they're putting the church service on Facebook, live church service. And I just wanted to let him know I appreciated that. And he was just absolutely thrilled that I took the time, number one, and shared that and encouraged him with that decision the decision that he made to put that live on the internet. And so be an encourager, plan strategically to make sure you're utilizing their name and bringing their name out and tuning into them as we're building that relationship. Anybody had any successes in this process recently at all? Just to pause here and let you share maybe a success you've had to encourage us all, because I have tons and tons of stories, but I'd love to engage our listeners here today on this. Anybody having any success in this area?
Well, this is Dr. TJ. I like what you're talking about with asking the personal question first. A lot of our day is spent getting follow-up histories from patients, not initial histories. And lately we've been working a lot on how is your function improving? Meaning, last week you could only sit for 5 minutes before you had to get up and move around, or you could hardly get out of the car at last visit. Asking that question first gets us a great start on what we need to get for the note, but also makes that connection first, as opposed to saying, well, what's your pain like today? Yes. Asking how it's affecting their life first, I think, creates a better conversation.
Well, that confirmation is valuable, and I appreciate that. I have to share that recently, people, as I engage with people, they say, hey, Bob, what are you up to lately? What projects are you working on? And I love sharing that, the fact that I'm very privileged to be working with several chiropractic groups. And they go, oh, really? Let me tell you a story. And so all of a sudden, here in the last week and a half, I've been getting people, as I've shared this with, I'm working with different chiropractic groups, they start telling me their stories with their experience with a chiropractic group. And for everything from, I went there 4 times and the doc still didn't remember my name, had to look at the chart before he knew my name, to I know why I'm not going back again. And so just, amazing things, the discoveries, but it's because what's happening is we get so busy, so hurried doing our work, so to speak, we forget these basic vital steps in the journey, right up to living with enthusiasm, that spark of enthusiasm. I mean, that we got to have a belief, that conviction that's deep, deep within us, and then let that just flow out of us. In fact, in the Greek, enthusiasm means spirit within us flowing out of us, just having that fluidness and that joy just flow out of us, and whatever that subject or thought that we're aspiring to share. Dramatizing our ideas, planting seeds of ideas. And as you do this, you create this natural eagerness. They want to follow your advice. They want to follow your encouragement. And so in a summary here today, friends, let me just say it's the simple principle of taking one of these every day and applying it, just like a vitamin pill, just like, exercising. We've got to apply the principle with each patient. Plan a question each time they come in, a different question you're going to ask, just one question, just plan one question, and then gently bring that into the conversation. But really having that spark, and that's going to be the real key in our application of these principles. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions here today, folks, on the call in the application of them?
While we're waiting, Bob, I guess I will just add that, what the thoughts that come to mind as you go through this information is kind of echoing a little bit about, what Dr. TJ was saying, but also just knowing that, not only the staff, but the doctors as well have a lot on their plate. And, with getting the documentation done and billing and coding and all the, the electronic health records and all of that.
Right.
Sometimes it is a challenge to really focus on the patient, and sometimes we kind of got our head buried in the computer or whatever it might be, that we just have to make sure that every single patient that comes into the clinic, that we are focused on them, and that they that's the perception that they have. They know it's a busy practice, so they know that that there's a lot of people to take care of. But still, patients want to feel like, again, they're not a number. So just
right.
Great reminders, I believe, for both doctors and staff.
Right. Thanks, Jeff. And remember, I got to go back to my little informal survey. The biggest thing, because I did ask a couple questions of folks, and every one of them said they never, ever got a follow-up phone call. They never got a follow-up phone call after the visit from anybody at any chiropractic office. And I heard that time and time again. So let me encourage you to make sure that you're making a follow-up phone call every now and then. That's another great opportunity to just that touch point, whether, you can just touch them one more time by a quick follow-up call. They're saying, hey, just wanted to make sure that you're doing well. Any questions? Did you get that piece of information that we promised that we were going to send you, or whatever the case may be? Just, or plant a seed. Hey, come back to our website. We got some free downloads on our website. Whatever it is you touch them with, it's going to be a healthy thing. Just touch their hearts and their minds at the same time. Thank you, Jeff, for everybody. Any other questions? Anybody at all as we wrap up here today? Just a quick work and lunch. That's all we wanted to have.
Anybody have anything?
Great. Adopt, adapt, and apply. Thank you, friends, for sharing and contributing and being here with us on our journey for aspiring for greater excellence and taking care of our patients. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
You bet, Jeff.